Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Real IELTS begins here. Today we're going to tackle a very common but sometimes tricky IELTS reading question type, identifying information also known as yes, no, not given. Now I know this one can be confusing at first, but don't worry. With some clear strategies you can absolutely master it. Think of this video as a warm-up session. Let's relax, get comfortable with the text, and practice the right techniques together. The goal here is to build your skills, not to be perfect right away. So, let's begin. If you'd like to solve this question yourself, just click the link in the description. And for many more practice questions, visit IELTSpro.uk, your place to get ready for IELTS with confidence. The Silk Road. Alright, let's start by looking at the title of our passage. It's the Silk Road. This immediately tells us the topic. We can expect the text to be about history, trade, and connections between different cultures. Just by reading these three words, we're already predicting the main idea. Paragraph 1 functions as an introduction. It tells us the Silk Road was a network for trade, but its significance went beyond commerce to include the spread of ideas and cultures. For a yes/no/not given task, we want to flag any specific details we see. I'm spotting the time frame, more than 1,500 years, and key names like Chinese silk and the Roman Empire. The phrase extends far beyond mere commerce is a big clue about the author's opinion. Paragraph 2 gives us more detail about the trade itself. It lists the different types of goods exchanged and mentions the dangers of the journey. We'll mark the names of goods like silk, spices, tea, and porcelain, and also the names of the intermediary groups, the Parthians and the Sogdians. These are great keywords to scan for later. Paragraph 3 shifts the focus from physical goods to ideas. It explains how things like religions, specifically Buddhism, and technologies like papermaking and gunpowder, travelled along the road. The first sentence, perhaps more influential than the material trade, is a very important signal suggesting the author is comparing the importance of goods versus ideas. Paragraph 4 is our conclusion. It explains why the Silk Road declined, mentioning the rise of maritime trade and the collapse of empires like the Mongol Empire. It ends by talking about the lasting legacy of the Silk Road, providing a clear cause and effect structure. Great. So, before we jump into the questions, let's quickly review our strategy for yes, no, not given. First, your answers must come only from the passage, not your own knowledge. Second, pay close attention to paraphrasing. The questions will use different words than the text. Third, look out for qualifiers, words like only, all, never, most, as they can completely change the meaning. Fourth, scan the text for keywords from the statement to find the right location quickly. And finally, manage your time. If you can't find the information, it might be not given, so move on. The writer believes the Silk Road's primary importance was not related to trade. Okay, let's look at our first question. It asks about the writer's belief regarding the Silk Road's primary importance. The statement claims this importance was not related to trade. This is about the writer's opinion, so we should look for that kind of language, probably in the introduction, paragraph 1. Let's remember, yes means the text agrees, no means the text disagrees, and not given means the information isn't there. The correct answer is yes. In paragraph 1, the writer states that the significance of the Silk Road extends far beyond mere commerce. This directly supports the idea that its main importance was not just about trade. This is further supported in paragraph 3, which says the exchange of ideas was perhaps more influential than the material trade. The Sogdians were more successful as intermediaries on the Silk Road than the Parthians. This question compares two groups, the Sogdians and the Parthians. It says one group was more successful than the other. We need to find where both groups are mentioned and see if there's a comparison of their success. I remember seeing these names in paragraph 2. Let's check there. Remember, yes means the text makes this comparison and agrees. No means the text makes the comparison and disagrees. Not given means no such comparison is made. The answer is not given. Paragraph 2 mentions both groups, intermediaries such as the Parthians and later the Sogdians. The text tells us the Sogdians came later, but it says nothing about which group was more successful. Since there is no comparison of their success, the information is not given. The exchange of goods had less of an impact on history than the exchange of ideas. Here we have another comparison. The statement says the impact of goods was less than the impact of ideas. We need to find where the author compares the influence of these two types of exchange. I recall seeing a very strong hint about this in paragraph 3. Again, we're checking if the text supports this, yes, contradicts this, no, or doesn't mention it, not given. The answer is yes. The first sentence of paragraph 3 says, perhaps more influential than the material trade was the intangible exchange of knowledge and beliefs. More influential directly supports the idea that the exchange of ideas had a greater impact. The statement in the question is a perfect paraphrase of the author's opinion in the text. European society was immediately transformed by the arrival of Chinese technology. This question is about the effect of Chinese technology on European society. The key word to watch out for here is the adverb immediately. Did the transformation happen right away? Let's go back to paragraph 3 where technology was discussed. Was the change instant or did it take time? Answering this will tell us if it's yes, no, or not given. The correct answer is no. Paragraph 3 states that Chinese inventions like papermaking and gunpowder made their way westward, where they would eventually revolutionize European society. The word eventually means over a long period of time, which directly contradicts the word immediately in the question. Therefore, the statement is false according to the text. The rise of maritime trade was the only factor that led to the Silk Road's decline. Our final question is about the reasons for the Silk Road's decline. The statement makes a very strong claim using the qualifier the only factor. This means that if the text mentions even one other reason for the decline, the answer must be no. We should check the final paragraph, paragraph 4, which discusses the decline. Was maritime trade the single cause? The answer is no. Paragraph 4 says the decline began with the rise of maritime trade. However, the next sentence says, the collapse of major empires that had once secured the routes, such as the Mongol Empire, also contributed to its fragmentation. The word also clearly indicates there was another factor. Because there was more than one cause, the statement that maritime trade was the only factor is incorrect. To wrap up, we've seen how to tackle a yes, no, not given task by carefully analysing the text and the questions. The two key strategies to remember from today are, first, always watch out for qualifying words like only, immediately, or all, as they're often the key to the answer. Second, identify when the author is making a comparison or stating a strong opinion. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more IELTS questions, and follow us at IELTSpro.uk for complete resources and practice materials.